everyone, it's Henrietta and Heather, and welcome to a Millennial podcast where we dive deep into the life of our 30s.
We'll discuss our struggles, dreams, relationships, icks, and anything millennials can relate to. Sit back, relax, and let's head on this journey together. We are 30s Unfiltered. Hey everyone! In today's episode, we will explore the fascinating topic of cultural differences through our own personal stories. Coming from distinct backgrounds, we've navigated unique challenges and learned invaluable lessons about understanding empathy and growth. Join us as we share our stories, the hurdles we've faced, and the wisdom we've gained. Okay, so Henrietta, you were born and raised in Norway, and I'm a first-generation Filipino American. So let's talk about where we come from and how our cultural upbringing has shaped us. Give me some examples of how you guys would greet each other in Norway. Do you guys have any specific body language? Give me a little bit of background of how you guys greet each other and what those interactions are like.
Well, first of all, I feel like Scandinavians in general are a very polite and respectful people. So when you meet someone at a social gathering, introduce yourself to everyone there and shake their hands and whatnot. And you're supposed to say goodbye to everyone at this said gathering before leaving. If you don't, that's kind of rude. Even if you just said one word to them, you're supposed to say goodbye. Meeting someone, out in public, just bumping into someone, saying hi, whatever it is, it's the opposite. You kind of want to avoid everyone and don't make eye contact. It's not common to say something to someone you don't know, give them compliments or say excuse me when you walk by them. It's very opposite of how it is in America. Unless you're out in nature and you run into someone or even just walk by someone, you say hi and you smile and you look them in the eye. It's very weird. I feel like Norway's religion is nature, and that's where most of the rules kind of lie, if that makes sense. The social rules and the norms are based off of where we are and our surroundings, which is weird.
That's very interesting because the two different environment factors play a huge role, I guess. And maybe it's because when you're in the city, you guys have you're focused, you have an objective, a goal to accomplish. I don't know if you're in the city and it's just kind of blinders versus you're in nature, you're there for fun. It's not really business or work, maybe. I don't know. Is that a thing? Or it's they're just in a better mood because they're out in nature?
I don't know. It could be a combination, but I feel like it's also just an unwritten rule that's been around forever. And so I think that might be the biggest thing. But body language wise, when you're out and about in public, you tend to just be closed off. For example, if you do public transportation, you sit on a bus or a tram, whatever it is, it's common to sit on the seat that's in closest to the mid aisle, so nobody will sit next to you. Which
Wow.
that's not the case. It's just weird, but that's just how it is. And I've noticed, the longer I'm away, that I've been in the States and I come back, the more I'm like, huh. I mean, I guess I did that too, but I didn't really think about it until seeing it with a different perspective.
I think that's so interesting. For us Filipinos, we are very warm, physical. We like physical touch. We like to give hugs, and say hello to everybody. And we're just very hospitable, especially if you come over to our home. We're
Mhm.
hugging you, we're making sure you're comfortable. And even out in public, we're very just friendly people in general. And so it's different, complete opposite. Also, one of the biggest things, we're huge on respect for elders. And so one of the things we do is it's called mano. You give your hand to, yeah, and you do a little blessing, Every time I go to my
Mhm.
grandparents' house, I have to grab their hand and say like, "Hi, mama, hi, papa," and then like they have this saying. It's called opo. I might be
Yeah.
fucking it up, but yeah, you do this. They. It's like a huge sign of respect. You grab their hand, you put their hand on your forehead, and that's like the greeting, how you greet the elderly in general, and not
But
just like your own grandparents. It's like all elderly.
they do that in a lot of different Southeast Asian countries too, right? Or is it just in the Philippines?
I don't know if they do the touching because I know like some other Asian cultures they bow, but
Right.
they don't touch. So to be honest, I'm not sure, but like just in Filipino culture, that's how we, greet the elderly, and like that's how our form of respect.
It's sweet.
Yeah, it's kind of, yeah, it is sweet, I guess. Also, we have a lot of indirect communication through our body language. And so we usually like point at things with our lips, like, hey, it's over there. And we'll point
Mhm.
with our lips, like in the direction, or we'll use our eyebrows, like it's over there. No, it's this way, this way. Do you have other things that you guys do?
We have, I mean, it's not going to paint us in the best lighting because there is something that's called the Norwegian hand. My friend's boyfriend was from England and he came to visit and had dinner at my friend's house with her family. And they were all reaching over each other to grab things on the table, like reaching over other people, like not asking to like, can you pass the so and so? And I guess that's a Norwegian thing. It's called the Norwegian arm, which I was never raised that way. Like my family in general, my parents were very strict with like proper table manner and like, not to do anything like disrespectful. Like I feel like it's common in a lot of households, but I didn't think that was a phenomenon in Norway to like have this like rude grabbing hand. But that I guess that's a thing.
That's
We
so interesting. Yeah, it's just what you guys do. So it's not looked at as kind of rude. It's just what you do.
it's I think yeah, I guess it's just looked at rude for people from different cultures where it's like, oh, okay. But I mean, and also because that's just how I was raised. If anything, and like if someone needs to grab something, they're like, oh, excuse me. That's how my closest friends are and like my family. So that might just also be different from family to family.
Anything else?
We're huge on sarcasm and I wouldn't say like pranks per se, but people here are extremely sarcastic. And I mean to a point where it's like we get it. It's a lot. It's kind of and I was more like that when I first, when I moved to LA, I was still doing that and I realized that it was too much because a lot of Americans just couldn't handle it. It was a lot, I guess. And I have noticed that when I come back, it's like, oh, I get it now. Like it's a lot. And I think that also plays in with like how like your facial expressions are and like your body language is when you're just being ironic and being sarcastic and kind of making fun of people.
I don't know. I feel like it builds some kind of toughness, maybe, if you guys are just constantly sarcastic about things.
Right. I mean, I guess it's a good and bad side because also we are very direct as people. I think that too is something that's very typical Scandinavian. And because I feel like Americans are very careful people, like they're very sensitive. They're a little bit like can be too sensitive at times, which I've
Hmm.
also learned, is nothing negative about that. It's just that's the culture. And when I first moved to LA, my American friends, I think it took them a while to get used to the way I talked because at first they thought I was just being kind of rude or disrespectful. They didn't tell me at the time, but I remember one of my friends had told me, you know, years after we had met that, it took me a while to get used to the way I talked because she realized that whatever I was saying, if it was kind of it sounded harsh or direct, I never meant anything mean or bad about it, which is the way I talked. But I think that too has softened over the years because I've just, I mean, acclimated. But yeah, I think in combination with just the way we talk, it's not like German, like harsh, but it is like we're the same kind of people. And so that combination with a lot of sarcasm and like bluntness, I get that it's not always easy to decipher like the mood or, so I get that. But I wouldn't say that I'm so much like that anymore. So I'm noticing it more. But again, the people that I see here, I've known my whole life. So I can't really tell a difference because that's what I expect from them.
Right.
And I'm not surprised. I mean, anyone I talk to here, I would never be offended by the way they talk because I'm just so used to it. So I'm very much in the middle. I understand and I know the sensitive, like American side, and also the very direct Scandinavian side, if that makes sense.
No, it makes total sense. I think that because you've been in the States for what, 10 plus years, it makes a huge difference. And yeah, you have acclimated to the culture. But I think that makes it's such a benefit for you to have those different perspectives and also the skills to navigate people and how to approach them. And so I think it's a very valuable skill. So that's awesome. One thing also that we do have in common is like the eye contact thing, but it's we avoid direct eye contact with our with authority figures. It's so
Oh.
weird.
Oh, like you're higher up than me, then I'm like less than, so I shouldn't really look you in the eye kind of thing because we're not equal.
Exactly.
Right.
They're just a person and like they get put on a pedestal. It would just get on my nerves. It was annoying. It was annoying.
Yeah, Norway has always been a monarchy, as a lot of European countries. And I swear to you, it would probably be easier for me to call up the King of Norway and talk to him than call up like a random politician in the States. And he would be like, what's up? Like it's actually the most like jovial people that you could, and they're so normal and they will, yeah, stop and talk to anyone. And they're just so casual. And I think that's a very, I don't know if it's exclusive to Norway, like that's how they act, but I feel like, I mean, compared to, you know, some of their relatives who are the British royal family, they're completely opposite of that. Everything's very rigid. I mean, I don't know too much about it. Like I've seen The Crown, but I don't know that much about the British royal family. But yeah, that is one thing that I feel like I'm proud of. And yeah, it's just like I mean, obviously you have to say it, Your Royal Highness and everything, but you can talk to them and behave normal and speak to them as your friend. I think that's really awesome.
I think that's very unique. And I think that is very cool. I love it
Uh,
there. I haven't even been there. The healthcare system is rocking
my
from what I've
God.
heard from you.
Talk about that for a sec because 6, 7 months, I feel like I've been constantly sick. I've had different things, but started getting worse when I found out that I had hyperthyroidism and started going, to my doctor's office and started medication, go to see a specialist, and kind of more in and out of the hospital that I have ever been in my life. And then paying literally like $100 for like 4 visits to my doctor's office and getting medication, which is nothing. And then I got even worse with some sort of infection, and I was in and out of, again, urgent care, the ER, back to my doctor's office. I went to another specialist in the hospital, got multiple medications, and I still haven't paid. more than $300. I've never, knock on wood, I've never had to take advantage of our healthcare system in Norway before. My mom has most of my life. So I obviously knew how good it was, but just experiencing it now, coming from the States, I'm just so incredibly grateful.
Yeah, I think like Norway is a country that really cares about their people and their well-being. Like for us over here, we have to pay like at the if we go to the emergency room and we get Tylenol, that's probably like a couple $100s. Like it's a joke. Um, versus you staying at the hospital for like a $35 pay. Like that's a
Yeah,
joke for us here. Like if we get an emergency, go to the emergency room, it's like $1,000.
right.
And that's if you
Yeah.
don't have insurance. And if you have insurance, it's about like $300 to $500 to go to the emergency room. That's not
I mean,
including medications.
and I had my own room and I had my own bed. I was there for 5.5 hours and they gave me, at least like one round of pain medication. I had like five doctors that came in, asked me questions. They kept coming in routinely to ask me things. Like I got my blood drawn, so many things. And yeah, it cost me like maybe $25.
That's so insane. But it's so great because honestly, like with what you've been going through, it helps a lot. Especially like the
Yeah.
mental and emotional aspect that you don't have to worry about any bills.
Yes, 100%. What if this would have happened while I was in America? Like I would have had to move, there's no way.
Regardless, you would have had to go back home, but I think that if you still stayed here, you wouldn't have gone to the hospital unless it was like an emergency,
Yeah,
which it already was an
right.
emergency. But I think you would have waited just because like you don't have insurance. And like it's gonna cost you an arm and a leg, literally.
Absolutely. No, but also you got to remember that Norway is a very, very small country. We have, well, I think I botched it last time, but I mean less than 6 million people in the whole country. And so it is easier to manage that amount of people rather than how many does America have? Like 400 million or more. I mean, it's
You're asking
insane.
the wrong person. I don't know.
I mean, I know that California alone has like 20 million something. So yeah, and it's the biggest populated state, but it's easier to manage and put in place laws and restrictions and like tax reforms and everything that's easier for people to follow. And because we do pay a lot of taxes, that's why education is free and healthcare system is basically free. Because I mean, they couldn't have just given it to us.
Right. If you think about it, everything should be free. Do you want to say anything else about your what you're going through?
No, that's it.
Okay. Okay. So, I know you mentioned the thing about the Norwegian hand. Tell me
Mhm.
more about how you guys have your meals together. Do you guys have meals independently? Do you guys have meals as a family? Like Norway and as a whole, not just your own family, but like Norway as a whole.
For the most part, like you sit down, with your family at a table. Typical like Norwegian food would be like peasant food, so like boiled vegetables, potatoes, and meats, and like a gravy, and kind of like how you would eat the meatballs at IKEA, but like different protein, and it didn't always look the same. But that's a very typical like Norwegian cuisine. It's very bland. You'll have all the food like on the table and everyone will like serve themselves. And yeah, you just sit there like with your family and eat. One thing that I've noticed in a lot of other cultures is like it's common to use like plastic knives or like paper plates and all that stuff. I would never see that anywhere here. It's very like looks like fine china and like it's more like I don't know. Some people might think it's like fine dining because of like the way we set up the table, but it's not. It's just common,
It's
you
just like a
know.
traditional like meal. I think like with the whole plastic spoons and forks and cutlery, it's just more of a convenience and laziness. But yeah, similar to you guys, so Filipinos, we value family a lot. So we always would have dinner together. And so we do what you guys do. It's like family style. And
Mm.
so it gives us like a sense of togetherness and community. And what I did growing up, like my dad used to eat with his hands a lot. So you eat with your hands, like yeah, you eat with your hands. And now, that my parents are divorced and it just kind of turned into now we just kind of have our own separate meals. We don't really have
Right.
like family meals together, which I can totally change, but it just hasn't been that way. And everyone's busy and you really have to make an effort to have those family meals these days, especially because
Right.
everyone lives far away from each other. Like I live at least half an hour away from like my family. Even now, when I have like family gatherings, we always have meals together. It's every holiday, at least. We're very huge on Mother's Day, Father's Day, my grandparents' birthdays, kids' birthdays. So, there's always something every month. So at least I'm seeing my family once a month if I choose to make that effort.
I mean, yeah, birthdays and events and holidays here too are huge. One thing that I believe might be um, different from the rest of the countries is like the dessert. So when say there's a birthday, for example, tomorrow it's my grandmother's 80th birthday,
Hmm.
and so all her like family on her side. She has six siblings, whoever's still alive, and our immediate family and their closest friends are going to be there. And there's always dinner, whatever she's going to make, and then there is a dessert, and then there's cake and coffee, cakes plural, because there's always going to be like multiple cakes. So there's
Wait, you
always
get
like three.
dessert and dessert.
Yes. Which is weird. I don't know. I mean, it's great, but yeah, that's a thing where like you'll make, I mean, it depends. Sometimes it'll be like, yeah, dessert, and then it'll be like cakes and coffee. We'll just call it coffee. And that's just always how it is, like after. Or cakes and snacks and candy, and it's ice cream. There's everything. It's
So
not
do
just like one cake.
so do people actually eat the stuff?
Yeah.
Really?
And there's like five or six different cakes, and this is for every occasion, not just for like a wedding. Yeah, no, it's insane. Especially it's more common to do a ton of desserts than doing like an entree, main, and dessert.
So you mentioned you guys have these formal dinners. Or are they formal? Do you guys dress up?
Yeah, they're pretty formal.
What are the traditions that you guys celebrate and how do you guys celebrate?
We are a like Christian religious country, which I'm not religious, but that's the general like Christianity. It's a general religion. And so we are big on Easter, where we have a lot of days off. It's not just Easter Sunday, how it is in the States. We will mainly do something on Easter Eve and Easter Day, dinner with family and friends. And when there is a holiday, people get pretty like dressed up, like dresses or, I mean, whenever we go to a dinner or if you're invited over to someone's house for dinner or someone's birthday, you get pretty dressed up. Like my dad will always wear like a button up and like dress pants or something like that. You don't show up in jeans and like a regular t-shirt if you're invited over for dinner. Then the next one is our Independence Day, which is May 17th. That's our Constitution Day. And that's a big one, which obviously just passed. Everyone who owns one of our national costume wears it on this day. And it's a huge, like, it's one of the most important pieces of clothing that you own as a Norwegian. It's very,
What does it look
I
like?
don't even know. I will show you a photo, but it looks like something out of Frozen. Yeah, that's where it's from. You know, Frozen is based in Norway, but the story is based off a Danish story, but it's based in Norway.
Really? I did not know that. Wow. Very cool.
Arendal, Arendal is an actual city here.
How do you say
Small
it?
Arendal.
Ondal?
No, that's like
It's not Arendelle? Arendelle?
Arendal.
That's how they say Arendelle.
That's you said that with a Texan flair. Arendelle.
Arendelle. It's Arendal.
Arendal. Arendal. Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, it and that day it depends on like how old you are. If you're in school, you'll walk in a parade with everyone from your school to like the city center. And if you're an adult, like you probably start with a champagne breakfast with your family and friends. And then you'll
Wow.
go down to and then you'll see all these, watch your kids in the parade, and like you'll see them, and then there's usually a huge gathering and a couple of speeches from maybe the mayor, and then there's a bunch of songs and marching bands. It's a whole, like, it's a huge ordeal. Imagine Macy's parade, but like times 10 and in every single city and town in all of Norway.
Wow. And everyone's just like dressed up.
And like we have our flags. Yeah, it's a we yell hurra in the
That's so
parade.
fun.
Hey, gratulerer med dagen. Yeah. Um,
Wait, say
so
that
that
again.
gratulerer med dagen.
Oh, that's so fun. That's fun. And then you said Christmas, right?
Christmas is also huge. People usually have a tradition for the 23rd, 24th, 25th, and 26th because all of those days are like part of the whole holiday. And so the 23rd, we always have like one tradition where, I mean, my parents usually work on the 23rd, but we'll have the same routine. Like we'll eat the same thing, we'll watch the same thing on TV. And then on the 24th, which is, we celebrate on the 24th, not on the 25th, we eat rice porridge at around like noon or 1 p.m. And we have an almond that we've scaled and hide in the porridge. And if you are the one to get the almond in your plate, in your portion, then you win a pig made out of marzipan. And then at night, you will either eat one of three things if you're like from Norway. You'll eat pork belly with like so many different, like kind of like a Thanksgiving meal with like a lot of different sides. You'll have pinnekjøtt, which it's lamb with only three different sides, or you'll have lute,
What is it?
which they talk about in Frozen. You know when they come to the little like the cabin to buy like warm clothes and stuff, like
Mhm.
Sven or Kristoff goes to buy like the stuff for his reindeer. He mentions lutefisk, which is fermented fish.
Oh.
Yeah, with also a lot of different like sides. Um,
Is it
I have
yummy?
never tried it
Oh.
because it looks and smells disgusting.
It's fermented fish. Of course it smells.
My grandfather loves it. Like it's common to eat if you're from like the north, which my grandfather is from originally. But yeah, it's not, I'm not interested. Like maybe one day I'll try it. But yeah. So
Is it
that's a
because
big thing.
like the climate and they're fishermen or something?
I think it was just a way to be able to preserve the fish because again, like we were a very poor country up until I think it was 60s that we discovered oil. And so it was only peasant food. And I
Mm,
think this was just a yeah, easy way to preserve and keep food longer, you know?
totally. Oh God, for us, like our major holidays are like when you turn 18, it's like you have a debut. It's like your debut, but they call it debut. And so they throw like a huge 18th birthday party for you, which to be honest, I don't really know what goes into it because I've never had one. It's kind of like a quinceañera. And then also we do these things called fiestas, and
Mhm.
they have them. It's more of it, they're tied to religious events. So we basically celebrate the town that whoever throws it, they're celebrating their town that they grew up in. And usually the money, it's like a fundraiser too. So like the money that they collect goes towards that city. And so it's like super religious. They do like cultural dances. They do music. We sing. We yeah, like people do performances. Yeah, I used to be part of that. My grandma used to make us perform. We would do dances. We do like hip hop dances. We would sing. One year we did like a fashion show. We do like
Oh
a
my,
lot of cool, fun stuff. We have a fiesta every year for like my grandma's hometown. There'll probably be like 50 to 70 people that come to these fiestas, and we'll have like a huge buffet, and like everybody, it's a potluck basically. So everyone brings a dish, and usually whoever's hosting will buy the lechon, which is a giant pig.
wow.
And yeah, we'll all just have a feast, and that's what we do in our fiestas to celebrate the hometown in the Philippines.
I love
Hmm.
that. And do you eat every single part of the pig in the
Yeah, the whole pig is there, and usually I just eat like some of the meat, just the white meat and the skin. Oh, the skin is so good. And then they have this gravy sauce that you dip the skin in. It's just, it's so good. I don't even know what it's called.
eat like the pork belly for Christmas. It's a whole, I swear, like you can ask anyone here and they will say something about that pork belly. And my mom just told me you can literally not buy it at any time during the year except for Christmas.
Oh, wow.
And it's pork belly, but it's like it's a big piece. But yeah, and that's the thing too. Like it's every single year, it's how to get the perfect pork crackling, like the skin.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
It's so good. And also, like during these fiestas, you are not obligated to dress up. Like there are people that do dress up to the full nines, and there's some people that just wear jeans, shorts, flip-flops. Like you could just come as you are, and you are welcomed as you are.
I mean,
And
they
nobody
wouldn't
judges.
wouldn't turn anyone around if they didn't dress up for any holidays here, but it's just common. But
Yeah.
is there a national costume in the Philippines?
Yeah, there is.
What does it look like? Okay, we'll have to.
So the
Do you own
men,
one?
I actually I used to. The dresses are like they're called Filipinianas. So I used to do beauty pageants after high school. And I got sponsored to do a beauty pageant in the Philippines. And that's when I had to buy or get like a custom Filipiniana. And it's like basically this like really long gown, very cultural. And you have these like huge sleeve, like puff sleeves. And it's
Oh
just
my God.
very, I'm not doing it justice, but it's
Yeah.
very like a beautiful gown, and that's what our thing was, like those huge puff sleeves, and it's a gown. The men will wear these long sleeve embroidered shirts, and it's
Mhm.
usually made out of plant fibers, and so they're called barong. So Christmas is huge for us in the Filipino culture. Um,
Mhm.
Honestly, people can start celebrating as soon as like September. People will start putting up their like we have like this Filipino star. People will start putting them up at their house. And then they turn on the light in the evenings, kind of like just like Christmas lights, but they'll have like the Filipino star up at their house. And just like Christmas in general is just huge, huge for gatherings. It's just a lot of fun, a lot of karaoke, a lot of and
Karaoke fun.
yeah, and we're very Catholic and very religious in whatever religion they are, but very religious. And so usually you'll have like mass. To be honest, I've been out of church for a while, but you have mass like Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, day after Christmas. But I know some people go to church like for the whole entire month, um,
Every
to
day.
every day, for Christmas.
Mm, that's a
So
lot.
yeah, it's a lot. And I don't do
You.
that, but that's what the culture does. What are some of your family and community values? I'll share some of mine. So, ours is family first. We're very family oriented, like I said before. Um, we respect for our elders is huge. Um, and we are very big on hospitality. And so we have a very welcoming nature. And so it's another significant value that we as Filipinos embrace. Um, and also, Filipinos are known for their resilience and hard work. You know, a lot of people that come, they migrate over here and they go to school and then they work hard. A lot of people become nurses, they get into the medical field. And so they do a lot to sacrifice for their families, just so they can um, have a better life than what they had back in the Philippines. And also, if you come here without a family, they are working hard here to go and send money back home to their families. And so
Yeah.
all the money is just constantly going back to the family. Yeah, it's like it's such a Filipino thing to do.
Common to live with your family until like you're married or even like after you're married, or like a multi-generational home, like living with your parents, your grandparents, and like even when you have kids yourself, you'll still all live in the same house,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, unless obviously you get married, you build your own family. But if you don't, then yeah, you live at home with your grandparents and your parents because you're like my mom takes care of my grandparents and
Right.
eventually like I will have to take care of my mom
Mhm.
at some point. And so yeah, again, it's the family dynamic. We take care of our family members.
Yeah, that's nice. I feel like that is very common in most places outside of Europe. Like all of like Latin America, all the Asian countries, I feel like that's very common. And you don't really see that here. I feel like maybe because the welfare system is so much better that like when you're retired, like you don't have to rely on your family because you've already built up, a pretty good retirement, so you don't have to suffer. You live pretty comfortably, and it's just very common to move out of your parents' house when you're 18.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, what other what values do you guys have and like as your like with your own family and as a community?
I will say, like, we are a very, nice, warm, welcoming people. It just takes a little bit of time to get us to warm up to people. And again, I think because it is so small and most people don't leave, it's hard to be, it's hard to change. And it's hard to see it's not like people don't know what's going on in the rest of the world here. And people are, for example, now with like Palestine and Gaza and everything, people are extremely supportive of Palestine and everything. So it's a very woke country and very progressive country. And I mean, this is one of the top countries when it comes to gender equality. And, so we're very high up when it comes to like tolerating people and people being different. But there's also this unwritten slash written social rule that has been a huge issue, I will say, in this country, and I think in all the Scandinavian countries forever. And it's the law of Jante, and that's the name of the guy who came up with these 10 rules.
Yeah. So tell me about, yeah, what is this law? What is it?
So it is called Janteloven, and it's the law of Jante, which is the name of the guy that came up with them. And it's essentially a code of conduct. And it's um like from like fiction, I guess, originally, but it's used to denote a social attitude of disapproval towards like expressions of like individuality and personal like success. Norway has a lot of good athletes, like many, many, many Olympians and many world champions of in like tennis, golf, soccer, any winter sport, volleyball. Like we literally have some of the top athletes in the world. And so it's a saying like det er typisk norsk å være best, which means it's typical Norwegian to be best. So that is also a big thing in our culture. So just keep that in mind as I renew the laws.
Okay.
So they state you are not to think you are anything special. You are not to think you are as good as we are. You are not to think you are smarter than we are. You are not to imagine yourself better than we are. You are not to think you know more than we do. You are not to think you are more important than we are. You are not to think you are good at anything. You are not to laugh at us. You're not to think anyone cares about you. You are not to think you can teach us anything.
What?
Yeah,
What?
I want to let that sit with
Who
you
is this?
because that
Wait, who is this person?
he's an author, but he wrote that, yeah, explain or express the nature of Scandinavian countries. This is all for Norway, Sweden, and Denmark.
Is this like learned in school? Do you guys read that at school? Do you guys like when did you get introduced to that?
Honestly, I can't remember. I mean, as early as I can remember, it's always been just something that's, yeah, ingrained in us. Um, I mean, I think essentially it was written just like not to be cocky, but I feel like it's backfired because, for example, the other day, um, I was talking to my friend here who she's a doctor and she was asked to be on a board of a department at the hospital she works at. And there was something else that I can't remember that, was one of her tasks and her responsibilities if she wanted to be part of this. And when she was explaining it to me, it was kind of like, she was trying to make it seem like it wasn't a big deal. And, that it sounded like she didn't think she earned it. And I was like, oh my God, like, this is so very typical of that law because like here she is like getting recognized for her work and for her merits and being a female doctor and she's my age doing really well and then she's kind of talking herself down and I was like you gotta stop that, like this is awesome, you need to talk yourself up. And I've noticed that I've become very American in that way, like talking yourself up and being your own cheerleader and all this stuff, which is not how I grew up. And that's where it kind of like clicked a little bit that I was like, it's still happening, And it's so sad because it should just be a natural thing to talk about your accomplishments and being proud of yourself. rather than either being like, I'm a world championship or an Olympian, I'm at the shit, or no, I can't do that. Like I don't deserve that, you know?
That kind of makes sense why people don't are not accustomed to change and they don't want to change and
Mhm.
why they don't move out of the country and why they stay where they're at and build their family where they're at because that's all they know. And
Mhm.
it gives them this like limiting belief within themselves that they are not good enough or they can't do it. That's what it sounds
Mhm.
like. And
Yeah.
why you're so different from everyone is because you actually went after your dreams. You wanted to be different. You wanted to get out of there. And I think that's amazing that you have been able to overcome that. That is not kind of like instilled in your, I guess, your subconscious mind where it's like, I'm not good enough. I can't leave. This is the life that I have to live.
It has kind of two sides to the story because when I left, I didn't know any better. Like I didn't know any different. And so I didn't realize and notice the difference until I came back or until I had, had Norway at a distance for a few years and I got a different perspective. That's when I realized how, much I had changed and how completely different to so many other cultures Norway was, and not just like in traditions, but also in social aspects, or just like you have autonomy, but you kind of don't because unless you are like everyone else, like they don't know where to put you, if that
Mm.
makes sense. I never quite felt like I fit in, but there's a lot of things that I still had ingrained in me, but I didn't realize until there was a change.
Mm. This totally ties into my next question. How has your cultural background influenced your career aspirations and professional goals? So for me, growing up as a Filipino American, my cultural background, obviously,
Yeah.
I'm a nurse. So the values of hard work, perseverance, dedication, those have all been ingrained in me within a young age. And so my parents worked really hard to provide for us. And they really emphasized the importance of education, and professional success. Again, because it goes back to they didn't really have much in the Philippines. So I have been able to be financially independent on my own for years now and support me and my son.
I mean, I think also because you were a single mom that you were kind of just like kick-started into that path, even if it was going to happen eventually. I feel like, because you were still born and raised in the States, and so those like American influences of like, having fun and maybe like doing a gap year, whatever, like after high school, or like trying to figure out like what college you wanted to go to and like having still doing that, but not like kickstarting it as hard as you did that too. And but you always had that, like you said, like engraved, it was just in your blood.
Yeah. Oh, are you talking about when I would get blackout drunk every weekend?
I was gonna mention that.
Before I had Mason. Yeah, that's like really how I lived. Party to party. And yeah, so having a child at a younger age really did, instill responsibility within me. And I wouldn't change it for the world, even though it hasn't been, the easiest journey. But it has kept me grounded. It's kept me stable. It's really taught me the lesson of patience and yeah, resilience, perseverance, and just to keep pushing forward. And so I continue my like I shared before, really into personal growth and development. So I always make sure that I'm in a class, I'm learning something will not only improve my life, but it will also, trickle down to my son.
You make it look easy to do all those things.
So I've heard, but it's not. It's not. I
I mean,
don't
I
show when I cry.
You show to me sometimes.
I do.
No,
I do.
so like, because I know you, and so I know that it's not always easy, but like outwards, like for everyone else that doesn't know you, like on a personal level, like I'm sure they're like, how did she do it all? You know? Because like you really do make it look easy when you just look at what you're doing, you know, and that you're always so positive.
It's taken me some time, but I've gotten out of this like victim mentality that, I used to think like everything was happening to me. Boo, woe is me. Really taking responsibility for also the actions that I play in my life. Taking responsibility has been huge for me, and it's really made a difference and really take actions to make shifts and change. So,
That's something that you've learned now, and is only going to get better for you.
absolutely.
In general, the culture here is to you don't have to follow whatever your parents are doing. You can do whatever you want, and the expectation is that your parents are going to support you no matter what you choose to do. And because of the education system here is, your parents don't have to support you if you want to go to school and college. Even me going to school in America for so long and getting all my degrees was covered by the loan fund here in Norway. And so my parents helped me like, living and all that stuff, but like the education itself, tuition was covered by a loan fund here, which gives, which allows for so many opportunities for people here to really be super ambitious. And so it's very common to earn multiple degrees. Most of my friends have a master's degree in Norway, whereas I don't know a lot of other of my friends in LA also have a master's like myself, just because it's like not as common.
I think that if it were funded like it is over there, a lot of people would have their master's degree for sure.
100%, which is how it should be because America is severely undereducated.
Share a lesson with us, or an insight that you've gained from your culture and also engaging with people from different backgrounds. What's like a lesson that you've learned?
For one thing, like judging people, I know for a fact that I was more judgmental before moving out of Norway. Yeah, I don't know, just like being open. And I love learning from new people and growing and just not staying where I am, you know?
Yeah. No, definitely. I really like I agree as well. Like for me, one thing that I've learned is also how to be open-minded and, learning that our differences aren't barriers. It's just a bridge to like a deeper understanding and connection with people. And also like by learning about other cultures and like you learn to respect them and how you can also bring their culture into your life to help, broaden a perspective. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, just like kind of like how you bring the American culture into your home, right?
And Mexico.
And Mexican, exactly. So I think yeah, like open-mindedness is huge, a huge
It's
lesson. Mm-hmm.
key to life, being
Yeah.
open, non-judgmental, and yeah, just embracing the differences. That's
Thank
what I want to
you.
say.
Yeah, that's it. I think yeah, that's it.
Period.
Done. That's it. Don't forget to mark your calendars for next week's episode where we'll be talking about the world of dating in the digital era. Get ready for a discussion on navigating modern relationships with fresh insights and practical tips. As we wrap up today's episode, let's keep in mind that diversity is what makes us stronger. By embracing our differences, we not only expand our horizons, but also unlock new perspectives, forge deeper connections, and build a more inclusive society. Let's keep pushing boundaries, questioning stereotypes, and cherishing the unique stories that shape our identities.
Hey, thanks for listening. We hope you got some takeaways from today's episode.
You can also follow us on Instagram and YouTube at 30s Unfiltered, or email us at 30sunfiltered@gmail.com.
Please leave us a like, comment, and subscribe to our channels. See you next time.